New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Free my mind, open my heart with the whispers of truth. To live a conscious life, to live a conscious life on the growing edge. On the growing edge.
And now, here's Allie.
Hello and welcome to Growing Edge Live. I'm Allie Benjamin, and it is my great joy to be here today. We have another amazing episode of Enneagram at the Growing Edge. And today my co-host is my friend, Michelle Medrano. And so Michelle's going to join us, and we're going to have a deep dive into, we have a title today, and I have to keep looking it up because I keep messing it up. And it's The Fix Beyond Fixation. And that's kind of Enneagram jargon, and we're going to get into what all of that means. But for those of you that are here for the first time, welcome. I'm glad that you're here. You don't have to know anything about the Enneagram to understand and benefit from what we're going to be talking about today. And if you do know about the Enneagram, great. I think you will enjoy the depth that Michelle and I bring to it, as we are both leaders in the spiritual space within New Thought. And so there's going to be an emphasis on connecting to the divine. And if you're back because you enjoy these episodes, I'm so glad that you're here. We've got some really great shows coming up, and so mark your calendars. And I've also been told or invited to invite you to like and follow and subscribe to this YouTube channel. And if you're watching from Facebook, you can find us at the Satya Center or New Thought Media Network, either one of those. And you can like, follow, subscribe to either one of us. And that way you'll get to have notifications and know when we're coming on. Anyway, here we are, Michelle. We're back again, Enneagram chatting.
Yes, it's great to see you, Allie.
Yeah, it's really good to be here. As some of you may know, if you're watching, I am in a different studio space here. We've moved house, and I'm here at my office. So you might be seeing this background more frequently. And there's my daughter. Hello, Alex.
Yes. Hi, Alex. It's good to see you here.
Yes. Oh, and look at that.
Hi,
Personal
Thank
message.
you for greeting. Beautiful.
All right. So when I sent you the title, I gave you some choices, and you really preferred this one.
I did.
The Fix Beyond Fixation. So when you hear that, when you say that, what does it mean to you? How does that land?
Well, I think in all systems of growth and whether it's spiritual, psychological, people are wanting to be able to identify the things that maybe aren't working so well for them. I don't like to categorize them as bad or good, but maybe effective or less effective. And people want to say, look, I've got this less effective pattern that's not helping me move forward, or helping me feel happier, or helping me calm myself or make decisions or whatever it might be. And I want to transcend it and go into something else. And that's, I think, what most of us are searching for when we're in environments like this. And so I really like that title, because the Enneagram, I see it like a doorway, and every number that we lead with, or that we have access to, actually all the numbers, as you and I were talking earlier, but especially the ones that are connected to us, they are doorways that we can walk through, that we can find ourselves trapped in our fixations, and then we're less effective in our living. Or we can use that awareness to help us walk through the doorway into more effective living by seeing what our virtues are and seeing what our strengths are and leaning into those and learning how to move through that process powerfully, I think begins to give people a sense of hope and possibility and even feel like they're growing and they can actually change their lives for the better. So that's what I'm really, really looking forward to and what I really liked about this title, because I think this conversation, we can really help people to move along that pathway a little bit more clearly if they choose to.
Absolutely. And I just saw a friend of mine, Kelly, who was a guest on here a couple of weeks ago. And she says, hi, Rev Alley and guest, Michelle.
Hi, Kelly.
Kelly is in Colorado near you. Well, not,
Oh,
she's near Aspen, I think.
Aspen. Yeah, that's a great
Yeah.
place to be. Good.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I think that what we are going to share today will really help people be able to see more clearly where they get stuck.
Mhm.
That word fixation, really feels heavy and really feels like a negative. And I noticed that as I was preparing for this episode. I've been noticing where I can get mentally fixated, like really familiar thought patterns that I seem to spiral into when I'm, stressed out or something isn't going my way. I can look through a particular lens. And the
Mhm.
thing about understanding or seeing or identifying that lens or that fixation then sort of softens the edges of that lens, and it's as though you can expand your perspective and see a bit of a wider view.
Mhm.
And I think that's what the Enneagram as a spiritual growth path does. It allows people to expand their way of being and seeing and thinking and doing to incorporate more helpful ways of behaving, acting, all the things.
Yeah. Mhm.
Go ahead.
I just read a really great article by a woman named Allie Benjamin, and she talked about in that article. You mentioned addictions, and I think thought patterns become addictive, and it's not only the psychological motivation that addicts us. I don't know a ton about brain science, but I know that the way that our brains fire off, we get synapses that fire off, and our brain biologically wants to fire off the familiar synapses over and over again. And so this whole process to break an addictive thought pattern, whether we're in stress or not, we all have these addictions. We have addictions to people. We have addictions to certain ways of being. An addiction would be defined and be synonymous to me of a fixation, that when we do that thing, it's not that it's good or bad or whatever. It just is familiar, and familiarity makes us feel comfortable. And to some extent, this kind of growth is rather uncomfortable because this is about disruption. It's about disrupting that pattern. And so even that's why for years we've talked in this movement about an affirmation or paying attention to what you're thinking or noticing your fixations or noticing your addictions. And then the people who can become effective at disrupting those patterns, even the littlest bit, on a regular basis, have a greater chance of actually transcending that habit or that addiction or that pattern, because they can see themselves more clearly. So I think that's what you're saying, and what we're all about today is about helping each other see and just rise up above those normal patterns that we fall into that just they're not always helpful. They're not always the best pattern. They're just the most comfortable pattern, right?
Right. And sometimes even unconscious. We don't even
Oh,
see that we're
most-
doing them.
yes.
And even if we do see that we're doing them, it doesn't register that this isn't helping.
Right.
This is actually keeping you stuck in a cycle of behaviors and thinking that what's the thing about doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result?
Right.
It's the definition of insanity.
Mm-hmm.
And then Dr. Joe Dispenza's book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. There's this sense that we get so stuck in our own personality,
Exactly.
and that we can expand. And this is where you and I, as ministers or spiritual leaders, come in. We get to expand and merge more fully with our essence or our divinity. And so this isn't about preferring one or the other. It's about integration.
Right.
It's about integrating our personality with our essence, so that we are behaving and thinking in ways that align with who we really are at the soul level, versus who we are as a personality that was created when we were very, very young, and that we've become accustomed, like you said, comfortable in behaving in certain ways. But it takes a while for you to really be able to see that box that that you've been living in.
Right.
And the Enneagram calls that box a type.
A type.
And so the whole goal of the Enneagram is not to put you in a box or to type you into one leading number. It's to help you see the box that you've been living in, so that you can poke your head out above the edge, and as Ernest Holmes says, you open at the top, that box is open.
Right.
You can look out and see infinite possibilities and potentialities, so that you can grow your wings, so you can flesh out your matrix. That's all Enneagram jargon, but we'll get into that. So should we talk about the different fixations or the different attachments that each type has? And for you that's listening, I invite you not to land on one. See if you can see a couple or several different ways you can get stuck, different ways you get stuck in thinking, or maybe different ways you get stuck behaviorally or habitually. Things you might do or believe. There could be beliefs that you're stuck to. So let's start with, should we just start with one, seeing one is
Yes, 1 through 9. Let's start with number 1. Sounds good.
Okay, so I'll read it out and then we can talk about it a little bit.
Okay.
So ones, they get attached, or their lens gets really specific on being good, or doing things right. And when that attachment has fully taken over, people that relate to this, if things aren't going right, they can get a little angry or resentful. But for the ones, they want to be good. So being angry isn't good. So that anger kind of goes down inside and can become that inner critic, or can become that voice of resentment or opinions or judgments. And so I can definitely relate to this. There are times when, after a meditation or a walk in nature, I can feel really expansive and really in love with the world. And then when, the driver cuts me off, or someone didn't call when they were supposed to, and that's not good for me because I've got a busy schedule, I can feel that resentment or that anger deep down and tend to, squash that a bit. Not good.
No. And it's toxic. And what I love about ones is they really often, in like what you said, to be right or to feel good about themselves, they really think they're hiding that anger and resentment. Dr. Michael Beckwith calls it pissosity. They think they're really good at hiding it, and they're not. They're not near as good at hiding it as they think they are. So it kind of leaks out.
Yeah.
And it leaks out with not only criticism of themselves, but criticism of other people, and kind of sometimes when they're in their fixation, toxic judgment, and just an inability to see anything or anyone as being okay or right, including themselves.
Yeah, and that energy, like you said, it leaks out, and it can feel like superiority too.
It can. Arrogance.
Yeah, and so if you're hearing this and you're thinking, oh, I know someone like that, Or, oh, I relate to that. I try and keep that on the down low, but yeah, I know that I do carry some resentment sometimes. There's going to be a fix, and we're going to be talking about those fixes of how to break the habit of being attached to this maybe unconscious pattern of needing things to be right or being good or doing things well. So that's the one. And let's move to number two. Twos are known as the helpers. And I know that I have several twos or helpers in my life.
Me
Love
too.
the twos. And so they have an attachment to wanting admiration, wanting to be helpful, wanting people to see them as being helpful and to value that, and to and they don't overtly do this necessarily, but they really want to be appreciated.
Yes.
And if they're not appreciated for all the helpfulness or all the service that they do for others, that can lead to some anger. And that's something that it's not as maybe tucked down as the ones. It maybe can bubble up and be expressed. And so their attachment is to being helpful to other people. Twos are very, very much wanting to maintain connection, to feel loved, and to gain that love or earn that love by being indispensable sometimes. And they can also feel that they know best. They know for others what they need, maybe even if they think that other person doesn't know what they need, they do. So that can be an attachment.
Yeah, and a clue also about whether you might be a two or stuck in that fixation of a two is you might have quite a bit of pride about how much you help other people. That's one of the things that and you may not ever express it, but inside there may be that feeling like, and I helped. You remember that shake and bake commercial, and I helped them, and I helped them figure that out, and I helped them understand what they were supposed to be doing. And without them, without me, they couldn't have done that by themselves. That kind of fixation of wanting to also show yourself and other people how appreciated you are. That's part of the fixation, I think.
Yeah, and as you were saying that, I was thinking, these habits, these mental patterns, and these behaviors that go along with them can become so all-consuming. And when people come across the Enneagram and are told that these things aren't necessarily good, there can be a little pushback. This can be an abrupt knowing or realization to have. And it's not that the Enneagram or us as coaches want to stop that behavior, because a two is at the very core a helpful person. Many of us are. And so that helpfulness isn't going to go away. It's going to come from a higher place. There's going to be more of a pure intention to be helpful without enabling.
Right, and without giving yourself away. I mean, a two who gets caught up in their fixation will exhaust themselves because they're helping so many other people and they're not really helping themselves. They're not practicing self-care, which we'll get to as we talk about the ways that we can go into the fix. But they're the classic example of people who will help other people too much and then become ill or exhausted or overwhelmed, that sort of thing. So
exactly. Oh, and now we get to three on the Enneagram is known as the achiever or the performer. And I think you are well equipped to talk about this one, Michelle.
I'm an expert because I lead with a 3. And so I like the things that I think that become some fixations for those of us who are 3 types is we really seek out people's admiration, almost can be addicted to people's admiration and need for showing how successful we are. And this can cause us to even conceit is the word, but it's not like I'm a liar or I'm trying to pull the wool over people's eyes. I'm just trying to set myself up when I'm in my fixation to be and appear as competent, successful, and powerful as I possibly can in someone's eyes, because I need to feel I need to feel loved. I need to feel admired. I need to be seen as someone who is competent. And so, so my fixation might be to avoid failure and even the lessons that come with failure sometimes, like the things that everybody can learn from failure, of course. But I might hide my failures or not be as forthcoming to people about something that's not going well or that isn't working in my life. And therefore, people might feel a little bit of an edge or distance between me and them. And so when a 3 is really caught up in that fixation, we're challenged to be really authentic and true to what's going on.
Yeah. I think it's really good to point out that these strategies, and we've talked about type 1s, 2, and 3 so far, these strategies are usually learned and developed at a very young age.
Yes.
So this isn't oftentimes it's so woven into who we think we are.
Yes.
That we're not aware that it's actually we've outgrown it. We're doing it over and over again. I have one of my sisters leads with type 3, the achiever, and she's super successful, and she's always been that way as far as wanting recognition, wanting admiration, wanting to be seen. It's a strategy to feel safe, to know that you matter, to get the love that you want as a child. And so these are definitely things that started when we were very innocent, very young. And it's not as though it's a way of manipulating others, although it might feel that way sometimes.
Sure can.
If we haven't noticed this, if we haven't developed self-awareness to see these parts of our personality that on one hand are very helpful and deeply ingrained in who we are, it can really rub people wrong sometimes. So
Most definitely.
and we both think that we're being helpful by sharing this information, and I hope that you watching or listening feel that way. We have a genuine desire to offer this, not only to point out the sort of shadow of this, but to shed some light onto how to grow through this, or how to gain greater self-awareness around these things. So now we move into my territory, the type 4. And the Enneagram type 4 is the individualist or the romantic or the, I think there's another name, I'm drawing a blank.
Those are the most popular ones, yeah.
And we as 4s, we can be very emotional and very deep and very attached to our stories of suffering, how difficult our past was, or what happened to us. And this story can be so sort of buried down deep, we don't necessarily know that we're coming from that pain body, that discomfort. And there's also a layer of having an attachment or a fixation on what's missing. And that could be attributes or qualities that we see in another that maybe we don't have. And so what happens is we see what other people have, or what they're doing, or how they're moving through the world, and somehow that translates as, I don't have that, that's missing in me, and I must be bad or wrong for not having that. So it's sort of this double-edged sword of, we see it and then we beat ourselves up for not having that. And so that can become sort of an attachment to be a bit melancholy and a bit sad, and be on the constant search for relief of that. Anything, oh, and then an attachment to thinking, well, if I'm really special and unique, and do
Yes,
something
that's right.
creative, then I'll get, that acknowledgement or that recognition myself, and then I won't feel so sad and so wounded from what happened or what I'm lacking.
Yeah, and I think sometimes when fours fall into the fixation, it's also I'm special and unique, and look how bad I've had it, and maybe you'll really go easy on me or think I'm special because of the unique circumstances of my suffering.
Ouch.
I know. Yeah.
And you have a close four in your
I
life
do.
too, so you've got extra close insight into type fours. Well, right next to 4 is 5. And I
Yes.
definitely have a strong 5 wing here. So this attachment is big for me, and maybe for you listening. And it's the attachment to information, to knowledge, to understanding why things are the way they are, and feeling self-sufficient. So you don't have to rely on others, that you have what it takes. And 5s can become, or people that have this 5 aspect can become very guarded of their own resources and of their time and energy. How about you? What about 5s for you?
Well, I think you said information. I think for a 5, knowing as much as possible about a situation or a person, or knowing as much as possible about some area that they feel that they need to be an expert in, can become a fixation for them. And so they can feel sometimes a little bit insecure if they don't feel like they have all the information, and that can drive a lot of their behavior to withdraw and step away, or not participate in things if they feel they don't know enough about the situation or the persons or whatever.
Yeah. All right. So now the 5s, we're moving from the heart types into the head types. So the 5, 6s, and 7s, there's more of a mental focus here with overthinking. So 6s, they have an attachment to safety, to certainty, to maybe asking a lot of questions to gain understanding, or to have a greater sense of how things will be in the future, like almost preparing for worst case scenarios. So there can be a lot of overthinking, over analyzing, and worry and anxiety that a 6 can fall into that space quite easily if faced with a fear. And many 6s that I've worked with really identify so firmly in that personality type, even knowing that there's choices within that can be very liberating for the 6. And they can be also fixated or attached to finding support and security, a figure, a person, something that will bring them that sense of support and safety.
Definitely. Yeah. And a lot of 6s that I know, they're the first ones to point out how to exit a building safely, or they're always thinking about that. Or people who have a connection to the 6 find themselves, it's not, and that's, again, like you said earlier, it's not that any of these qualities are bad. It's just when it becomes a fixation, when it becomes an overwhelming need, or something that distracts us from connecting to people because we're so afraid as inside of a building that we got to figure out how to get out of there in case there's a fire, or in case something bad happens or whatever. That isn't a very comfortable way to live. So whether it's a building or a situation, that feeling of that can become the fixation of the 6. People might recognize themselves through that kind of feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So now we move on to the 7s. And so the 7s can have a real strong attachment to wanting a lot of fun and adventure. They're actually named the adventurer or the enthusiast or the epicure. And sevens can get really attached to chasing the shiny object or chasing their dreams. They don't like to be limited or stuck. So that can be an attachment too. They don't want to get stuck in a situation. They want to have options so that they can see a way out. They can be attached to not being very present. They can kind of seem to be a little dreamy or not paying attention sometimes. They're always planning their next whatever. And so sevens can have an attachment to that desire for more, that hunger for more excitement or more options. And this, whilst it's good to be a dreamer and have, lots of ideas or goals or visions for the future, but when it's coming from a place of I'm not enough unless I have this, or I won't feel content until I have it, then it sort of slips down into that more unhealthy space. So what about you? Do you have sevens or any insights on?
Oh, yeah. I was married to a wonderful seven for many years. And I know that one of the challenges that can happen for sevens in their fixation is that if they're around people who are experiencing emotional or physical pain, sometimes they can seem a little bit blasé, or that example we might use for toxic positivity. Just rub some dirt on it. Let's get on with it. If you're a seven, you might have a tendency to not want to be with people who are a downer or who are going through pain or suffering, because you don't quite know how to go there yourself sometimes. Or if someone's in physical pain, you just don't want to deal with, or people might have given you feedback that you can be a little blasé about their upsets or their pains, a little bit of a not great listener or not a great companion through those moments. And that's just because it can be very uncomfortable for any human being to be with another person who's in pain. So I'm not saying that none of the other numbers have that challenge, but sevens in particular, they're all about avoiding that as best as they can.
True. Well, we are right at the bottom of the hour. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back and we'll finish up with the 8s and the 9s. We'll see you in a minute.
Please help us say thank you to all of our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Center for Spiritual Living United Life, Sunshine Cathedral, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Universal Joy Center, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa, Home Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. On behalf of New Thought Media Network, thank you, and please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, come be you. Come expand your spiritual journey. Join us for Just the Talk, Sundays, 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Experience Unity Kitchener and Ottawa. Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Unity of Garden Park, New Thought Philadelphia, the Sunshine Cathedral, Unity of Savannah, and the Om Center for Spiritual Living. Come unleash your spiritual potential with New Thought Media Network.
Free my mind, open my heart with the whispers of truth, to live a conscious life, to live a conscious life on the growing edge. On the growing edge.
And we're back. So we are talking about the Enneagram and the different types and what they can get fixated on, mentally attached to thinking and behaviors, emotional patterns that can sort of take over if we're not careful. So we've gone 1 through 7, and now we're on 8. So type 8s in the Enneagram are known as the boss or the controller. What would you say about 8s and their attachments?
Well, I think their fixation can be often about power and control in different situations and relationships and in their work life and just in life in general. They can get they can feel powerless to their need for justice for other people and making things right for the little guy kind of thing, standing up for someone who's being victimized, which can be an amazing thing too. This is one of their superpowers. We can talk about all their superpowers later on, but when it becomes a fixation, it can be rather explosive and scary to other people around an 8 when they fall into it as an addiction or a fixation. So it's a lot about power and control. They have big, powerful energy, I would say.
Yeah. And they also have a fear of being vulnerable. And so
true.
that can, that can also be a fixation of not showing up as appearing weak.
Yep.
And,
weak or soft.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that can, if you know that about someone, I have family members that are 8s and friends, and once they understand this, they realize that big energy can be overwhelming for others.
Yes.
And so there's more of a tendency to soften a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be extremely helpful.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that in a minute.
Definitely.
So now the 9s, we're ending up with type 9, and the 9s are known as the peacekeepers or the peacemakers.
Mm-hmm.
And their attachment is to being comfortable and unaffected by life. And so they like to kind of take the middle way. They might be the quiet one in the group. And so they can get fixated on keeping the peace, not wanting to make waves, and wanting to go along to get along. And that might sound really good to some degree, but when someone is sucked into this behavior pattern, they may never really share what's on their mind. And so they can appear to be, not engaged. And this can really undermine relationships.
Most
What would
definitely.
you say about 9s?
I think a key word about their fixation can be avoiding conflict, avoiding strong feelings, avoiding anything that doesn't feel like peace to them. And then they also can be the word sometimes that we've used in talking about a 9 is slothful. They can appear to be rather lazy at times, though I don't think that's necessarily always the truth about them, but they can kind of lean into that kind of, I just want to sit around and do nothing kind of thing, because that's safer than being out there in the midst of it all.
Right. And I think that I've always felt that lazy word is a bit harsh here. Yeah. But what I've noticed, I have some close 9s, and it's almost as though they can numb out. Rather than calling it laziness or slothfulness, I'd say they numb out in certain ways.
Yes,
maybe by looking at the phone too much, or over cleaning, or there can be some habits they get into so that they avoid the pain that they may be feeling in an uncomfortable situation. And so that kind of sits better for me.
That's a great way to put it, Allie, because I think they definitely, a 9 can get caught up in television or movies or something that just kind of absolutely numbs them out. Yeah, that's good.
Right. And that's very soothing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But when it's coming, when you're avoiding, really fitting in and speaking up and having an opinion, and you choose to do that, it can become a trap for you.
Yeah. Impact relationships for sure.
I think that's what these fixations are. For me, when I'm talking with someone, coaching someone to do with the Enneagram, or even in spiritual practitioner space, they can become real traps to get stuck in these certain ways. And there's an easy way out. It's not it's simple. It's not easy. That's probably the right way to say it. And so when we open up, when we realize that these fixations can really interrupt our connection with ourselves, and our connection with other people, and our connection with the divine, we can see that it's worth putting some conscious attention and time into seeing these mental patterns and habits, seeing these behaviors that have just become so automatic and such a default. And we can move from living by default into living by design. And so I'd love to talk about some of the ways that we can transcend or integrate these habits into being more effective, more efficient, more empowering. So I'd like to move outside of the numbers. So not so much referring to the Enneagram numbers, but referring to the sort of behaviors or the quality of the thoughts. For instance, if someone is really attached to being right, what could be an easy fix or a movement away from that habit or that behavior of trying to make things better or improve them or making them right, into allowing things to be as they are. There's a divine right order or a divine right timing, so it's kind of a shift in perspective. The thought of things need to be a certain way, to sort of a surrender or a relax into trusting that the universe is always moving, presenting itself. Things are always arising in a particular order. It may not appeal to my ego, but there's something deeper inside me that it resonates with, that kind of switch from, everything's in a particular order here. I can find comfort or belonging in that space. Do you see that with someone that feels thinks things need to be a certain way?
Yeah, but what you're reminding me of, though, I want to go backwards just a little bit as I talk with you about that, because you and I talked earlier before we got on this podcast about our matrix and you also mentioned at the beginning how we all have connections to other numbers. We have a little bit of every number, but the number where we tend to lead with is related to the two numbers on either side of us, and then we have relation across the way. So what I hear you saying, for example, for a number 1, is that one strategy, if I'm a number 1 and I'm really being fixated on who's right and righteous energy and the arrogance of that, one strategy would be to possibly lean into my 9. Because I've got a relationship to the 9 right next door. And the 9 being the peacemaker, the mediator, the ability to see all sides of things. That's what I hear you talking about. So a 1 could say, how could I kind of consciously lean into the superpower of my 9 energy and break that fixation? And psychology and all the studies tell us this, how could I lean into the 2 that's on the other side of me and even be more helpful to people? Stop focusing on what's right and who's right and more on how could I help or support someone today? And how could I go make a difference in someone's life, especially someone I think is wrong? Like if I'm really having judgment about my sister or something and really caught up in the fixation, sort of breaking that pattern by saying, what could I do that might really help her today? Those are some of the ways that I think we can use the knowledge we have about the Enneagram. That's just one thing. And of course, all of these patterns, whether or not you have a relationship to the 8 or to the 7, can be helpful. But especially, I think, when we know what our matrix is and we already have a propensity for going in one of those directions, we might be more successful of breaking that pattern, that fixation that's not serving us.
Great. That's beautiful. So what about when someone has this real fixation for trying to be overly helpful or over giving, and that seems to catch hold?
Mm-hmm.
Let's think about the ways to move or expand perspective, because it can be such a habit of trying to insert yourself into being a solution to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for the 2s, it's about releasing that need, attachment to wanting to fix things or wanting to be the solution, to moving to that place of what in my life can I bring my own helpful energy to? What is it that I actually want? What is it that I can see that maybe the other wants, but they can do it for themselves? What if there's more spaciousness around allowing others to find their own ways? I think that can be a real growing edge for someone that can fall into patterns of enabling or overgiving or people pleasing, or seeking attention and appreciation that way. It's to mind our own business, really tend to the garden of our own souls, so that we can be the answer and the solution for ourselves first.
Yeah, powerful self-care. And I think that anyone who has 2 energy in their life, tooliness, if you will, also giving myself credit and looking in the mirror and seeing that I'm a very empathetic person and that I like that about myself, and giving myself kudos and credit for that while not having to go out and enable everybody and help everybody. Just being able to say, I really like that a part of me really wants to be helpful to people. It doesn't mean you have to go help every single person that you think of, but you can admire that quality within yourself without actually having to act on it.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And then for those that have this energy of wanting to perform or gather attention or admiration by the things that they do, what could be a nice shift or a way out, the fix to the fixation? I think it's about really understanding why we're doing what we're doing. What's in this for me? Does this thing I'm doing really align with my core values? Or am I doing this for others' approval or attention? So the fix might be to really question, self-inquiry, is this something that really lights up my soul? Does this align with my values? But you're a 3, so you might have greater insight.
Yeah, I'm a professional 3, so. Well, and what I said earlier about leaning into your numbers that you might have another relationship with was part of what helped me the most and has helped me as a 3, because 3s, not only because we have that 4 wing, but because at below that need to impress everybody and make everybody think we're wonderful, there is a very vulnerable and authentic element to us. And so what I've finally learned and what I'm seeing in my life is that I can balance out my need to be brilliant and appear to be perfect by being vulnerable, by being true, by being honest about how I'm feeling. I don't have to do it with every person. Like I don't have to stand up and on Facebook say, I don't feel this, but to people that I trust and to people that I know care about me, to take the risk to just be vulnerable uh, is very empowering for me as a 3 and helps me see that I can be loved and appreciated for who I am and not what I do. That's
Perfect.
the key. That's the
Yeah.
key, I think. Mhm.
And then for those that have this, and we're talking about 4s, and I said, well, let's not talk about the numbers, but now we're
Yeah.
talking about the numbers.
It's hard
But
not to go through it that way because it's so logical, right?
right. But for those that can get obsessed with that, thinking something's missing or envying something outside, the fix or the turnaround is really noticing what we do have,
Right.
noticing what there is in our lives, in our world, within ourselves, that we appreciate.
Mhm.
Because the disruption for many of us in this space is that we spend way too much time inside thinking about self-obsessing, being self-absorbed. And so the fix is really to bring more balance, look outside, see what's
Mhm.
going on out there, maybe get involved with doing something creative. So it's to get
Yes.
outside of the habitual patterns of seeking attention or sharing, what's wrong with the world, and getting more into finding joy outside rather than looking for what's missing inside. And
Sure, and
so,
expressing your emotions, right? I think a lot of 4s are profound artists, and so art or movement or journaling or therapy or any of those things that a 4 can really feel they can express the depth of their emotions profoundly, I think really can help them to move beyond that
right,
energy.
because for many people that going inside all the time can be very sad and bring this
Yes.
melancholy up. So being out and being active can stimulate a lot more joy and happiness.
Yes.
And we'll move quickly because we're coming to the end. So
Yes.
we've got those that want to sort of guard their energy, gain a lot of
Mhm.
knowledge, always be seeking to learn and remain autonomous. And so the switch here would be to maybe socialize a bit more, get
Mhm.
outside of the comfort zone. It's not all about gaining knowledge and protecting your energy and time and resources, but actually engaging with the world and
Mhm.
finding that it might be safe out there as well.
Sharing that wisdom that you've acquired
Oh,
about
yeah,
things.
that's a good
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, good.
And then for those that have a lot of anxiety or
Mhm.
have a lot of fear,
Mhm.
and can overly question or prepare for worst case scenarios, it could be about learning how to build some inner dependence on your own authority,
Mhm.
understanding that you have way more wisdom than you know, that
Mhm.
you hold a lot of the answers that you're seeking. You just got into this habit of thinking the answers come from the outside when a lot of it comes from the inside.
Sure, and I think 6s are very powerfully intuitive, and they can often, if they learn to determine when something is being motivated by fear versus motivated by that gut feeling, they can be such powerful people in supporting us and seeing the truth that's coming down the pike, so to speak.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
That's good. And then the 7s who are always chasing and looking for some enjoyment outside and not being present. I think that a subtle growth strategy could be to slow down.
Mhm.
Less is more.
Mhm.
To
Yes.
realize the joy in this moment, or
Right.
the joy of being present with
Mhm.
someone, versus
Mhm.
always be planning and thinking of what's next, to deeply engage.
Right. Yes. Yes. Definitely. And bring their positive attitudes to places that they can contribute that great
Yeah.
gift to. Mhm.
Yeah. And then the eights, the controllers, there's something wonderful about realizing your own vulnerability
Yes.
of not everything needs controlling, that there can be peace in the surrender.
Right. Yeah. And your vulnerability is one of your superpowers, and and makes you a stronger person. And it's a beautiful part of the eight, the sweet part
Yeah.
of the eight.
And really builds connection with others.
Yes. Yes, most definitely.
And then the nines, the ones that are seeking to keep the peace and maybe not speak up, bite their tongue, or numb out. What would you suggest for the nines?
I think being willing to take the risk to speak out, to lead, because nines can be a very good leader there because of their powerful energy. So just like embracing that you could be a good leader, and that you have that calm, steady presence, and that just to be patient with yourself and with others, and step out of that bubble, so to speak. Take a stand every once in a while, and
Yeah.
feel the joy of that.
And find your voice and know that your opinion matters.
Absolutely.
That sometimes, because of your powerful, embodied, peaceful energy, that your voice, your opinion, your observation could make all the difference in the
It
world.
definitely could. Yeah. People
Yeah.
want to hear from you, nines.
Yes. So we're here at the end. What would you like to say as we come to the end and want to talk about this, the fix beyond the fixation?
I guess the last thing for me is what we started with. Just walk through a doorway of something new to disrupt the pattern anytime you can, and call yourself forth. I was part of a counseling center once, and I loved their slogan. It was, "No, you can't do it by yourself, and no one can do it for you." So we need help. We need communities like this community that Allie is building, and there's so many around the world right now, to help us to break up with our fixations, so to speak, and step
Yeah.
through the door.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Michelle. This has
Thank
been
you,
another
Allie.
wonderful episode, and we'll have you back, and we'll do this again. And for those of you that have been listening, watching, thanks for being here. I trust that this has been helpful for you, that you can see yourself reflected in some of these fixations, these thought patterns, and these attachments we get to certain behaviors that we think are helpful but maybe aren't. It may be time to take another look. And thanks for being here, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Free my mind, open my heart with the whispers of truth. To live a conscious life, to live a conscious life on the growing